Hi, everybody, and welcome to our very first Twitch live stream for our intro psych class for the summer. My name is Elisa Setmire. I am your instructor for our class. I see a bunch of you joining me, which is fantastic. A bunch of you getting logged in. If you've never been on here before, this is Twitch. And again, my name is Elisa Setmire. The way that you communicate with me during this, if you have any questions or if you want to put your name in the chat so I know you're here, is to use the chat feature, right? So if you're on your phone, you can hit chat, or if you're on your computer. But I see a bunch of you putting your names in there, which is fantastic. Can someone let me know? Can you all hear me and see me okay? If someone can give me like a yes or a thumbs up, that'd be super helpful. Everything looks good on my end. Okay, great. Okay, perfect, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me know. So, again, this is our first of these meetings, and these are totally optional. They're extra credit, and so if you can't make them, they will be recorded, and you can still do the extra credit question. I'll talk more about that later. But thank you so much for so many of you letting me know you can hear me fine. But what I want to do today is take a little bit of time to show you our website, give you an opportunity if you have any questions for me. This is a wonderful time to ask as we're live. You can just put them in the chat. I'm monitoring on my phone, and so I'll see it and I can answer them for you. I'll go over the syllabus and then week number 1. This will by far be the longest of these. Normally it'll be like 30 minutes. This one might be a little longer just since we have to go through the class a little bit, but I want to make sure that you're feeling good. So this is Canvas. If you have been on Canvas before, if you've made it to our page, then hopefully you have found everything. But what I want to do is just kind of walk you through it. And you're usually about 30 seconds or so again behind me, but if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. So when you're on our page, you can see there's a bunch of little links that are here. There's a start here for the orientation, some instructor contact information, help and campus resources, course documents and videos, and then week 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Traditionally, summer classes are 4 weeks or 8 weeks. We have kind of like a 5-week period of time, but that's okay. It'll be a great 5 weeks that we have together. You can also get to things over here on the left, on the little navigation menu on the left. But a really great place to start is where it says start here. Or you can go to modules over on the left, and that will take you to kind of all of the content of the class. I mean, you can see right off the bat, here's the syllabus and then the welcome email that I sent out, the textbook information, there's help and campus resources, some mandatory orientation materials, and then we get into week number 1. So let's back up together and look at the syllabus. And I'm not going to cover everything, but I do want to make sure that you know what to expect. So definitely look this over a little bit more on your own later. But let's click on the syllabus and go through it together. So our class, right, started on Monday, technically Tuesday since Monday was a holiday. You can see on here my name, my office, my phone number, my email. So my name is Elisa Setmire. Most people call me Setmire or Professor Setmire. You can call me Dr. Setmire, but it's a lie. No worries, Josh. You're welcome. I'm glad you made it. Best way to get a hold of me always is going to be email, right? I'm not in my office because it's summer. So if you have any questions, email me. I check my email all the time. I will try to get back to you as quickly as possible. But email me if you ever have any questions. Office hours are these Twitch times, or we can make an appointment to meet like via Zoom if you need to. There's some information here about administration, like if you need to get a hold of the dean or the department chair or the administrative assistant. There's a little description and objectives and outcomes. I'm going to let you look over all of that on your own. I want to kind of focus on a few other things, starting with the textbook. So you need to have purchased the textbook. If you haven't already done it, make sure you do it immediately when we're done here tonight, because you do have your first assignment due by the end of the day today. And I know that's quick, but because it's like a 4.5, 5-week class, it moves really, really quickly. And so what you'll notice is you need this bundle of books. It's actually 2 different books. And I know it's a little bit confusing, but once you have them, hopefully it'll be good. So the main textbook is called Psyched. And then there's a self-care book as well. And what you'll notice is I did write both of them. On the plus side of that, it makes them very affordable. And I know that like $110 seems like a lot for a textbook, but the average intro psych book is like $280 to $300, right? So it's actually really, really reasonable. And hopefully you find it to be accessible and interesting, but you do need to buy this bundle. And so if you click on this ebook bundle purchase link, it'll take you to the page where you can buy both of them. I want to point out, oh, good. Thank you. Right, Emily. Hi. So I think if you purchase this, what you'll end up seeing is that you get the ebook from Psyched, and then you'll either have the Red Shelf or Vital Source book that will come, which is the self-care book, right? So make sure that you get both of them. They do come as a bundle. You'll get 2 separate emails when you purchase your book. You'll get one from the Psyched book and then one from the self-care book, which you won't need for a few weeks. So definitely make sure you save that email, as we will come back to it in a little bit. And again, if you haven't purchased your book already, make sure you do it as soon as possible. You'll also want access to Canvas. You'll obviously need the internet since we're an online class, and probably a computer or like a really good phone that works, or like a tablet. But other than that, that's pretty much all that you will need. You do need to have obviously a computer that's like relatively new. I think as long as it's within the last like 5 years or so, you should be just fine. If you run into any issues, I have some like help for that later. Yes, the quiz is on the Psyched book, and we'll look at that later. Like if you're on the Psyched page, you'll see that the quizzes are up at the top, and I'm definitely going to show you that in a little bit. Some codes of conduct and policies. Obviously, we're completely online, right? Everything that we do is 100% online, but I still hope that we have a really good, like, inclusive, safe environment. I want all of you to feel comfortable participating in the discussions, participating here with me on Twitch. So just promise to be really mindful. Make sure you're thinking about, the things that you're saying. Let's be respectful and mindful of each other. In terms of late work and exam makeups, the way that this class is organized is around weekly deadlines. So every week you'll have a set of things that you need to do, and the deadline will always be Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. except for the little orientation quiz that's due tonight, just to make sure that you have your book, you're logged in, and you're ready to go. So every Sunday night we'll have a deadline, and I'm really strict about the deadline. If something happens or comes up and you reach out to me before Sunday at 11:59 p.m., I'm happy to work with you. But if you reach out to me Monday, even at like 12:01 a.m., it's going to be too late. So just please keep that in the back of your mind, that if things come up, if you have an emergency, if something happens, right, if you need a little extra time or you're struggling, just make sure that you do reach out to me before the deadline, and I'm happy to work with you. Please make sure that you don't copy or cheat to give me all your own beautiful creative work. Not tolerated on our campus, right, and especially with how easy it is to do with like ChatGPT and all of that. So just please make sure that you're always giving me your own beautiful creative work. There's some stuff about smoking in Title IX that I'll let you look over. In terms of our grade, it's made up of a couple of different things. The first is that little orientation quiz, which is due by tonight. And my goal with that is to make sure that you've purchased your books, you've logged in, you know where everything's at, and you've done the little quiz and reviewed the syllabus and all of that. So I'll show you again where that is in a little while, but make sure you do it by this evening. If you haven't, you will get a warning email from me tomorrow. So just please make sure that you get on that. A big part of your grade is made up of discussions. Every week you'll do 2 discussions based on the readings and the materials that we're covering. There were 15 points each. You're responding to a peer and also to my questions. I'll show you those in a little bit for this week. You'll do a couple of little short self-assessments in this class. There's 2 of them where you'll kind of reflect on your grades and your progress so far. You'll do a self-care and mindfulness assignment that's related to that self-care book. Hopefully this will be something that kind of helps you promote self-care and mindfulness in your life. We'll talk about that when we get there in a couple of weeks. There'll be a short closing assignment during our final week where you'll reflect back on what you've learned. And then you'll take 4 exams, 1 each week other than that last week where we'll be done with that part. So those are kind of the points that make up your grade. Everything is just based on points, so you can see the breakdown here of what you need for each grade. If you have a memo with access, make sure you get that to me as soon as you can so I can make sure that you're set up with whatever accommodations you need, whether that's timing or whatnot. These live streams are recorded, and so obviously like that will be accessible to you. All the lectures have captions, and so all that should be accessible. But if you do find that you need something else, please make sure that you get your memo to me. There's some student tech support and college information. And then after that, it just breaks down the different weeks of our class. So right now, we're in week number 1, which started on Monday and will end Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. And so you can see everything you need to do for week 1, and then 2, 3, 4, and finally week number 5, right? And our class officially ends June 29th at 11:59 p.m. Okay, so you can kind of see the layout of everything. Every Monday morning, a new folder will appear, a new folder will open up with that week, and everything will be due by Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. And we follow a very similar format. I'm really big on consistency, and so hopefully that will help you with the announcements that will come out at similar times and styles, the weekly assignments that follow kind of a similar format. Hopefully all of that will make it very easy to remember. You purchased a bundle. When you buy the book, you should get the bundle right away, right? So the second that you buy it, you should get 2 emails, one from the Psyched ebook and one from whichever other one you picked, which was either Red Shelf or Vital Source. If you don't get the email like right away, hopefully it comes within a couple of hours. If not, I'll show you where some customer service information is so you can reach out, but usually they come pretty quickly. So just make sure you check your spam folder and all that stuff too, just in case it might have gone there. There's some stuff here about a welcome letter that I sent out. Here's all the textbook information, which was in that syllabus, but you can also find it here as well. Another link to it, the purchase link. You can also find on here with your question that you just asked, here's a email and phone number that you can reach out to if you're struggling with anything related to purchasing the book. So here's the orders@kendallhunt.com email and their phone number. I wrote the books, but I have no control over them. They're run by like the publishing companies, of course. So here's a couple of emails and phone numbers if you find that you need them related to buying the books. Okay, but make sure you get them today if you haven't already. You need them right away. There's a little bit about registering and accessing the book, some samples, a video overview of our class. Then I put together some help and campus resources as well. A bunch of frequently asked questions. So if you're confused about something, it's probably in here. So it's a great place to start. I made a little student lounge if you would like to talk to each other in a discussion forum. There's some information about finding me on Twitch and YouTube. I use a lot of Twitch and YouTube in this class. So if you haven't already, make sure you find me on both platforms. If you can, I also gave you step-by-step instructions on how to subscribe for free on Twitch. I really don't want you to have to pay for this, but I gave you step-by-step instructions. If anyone in your family has Amazon Prime, you get a free subscription. There was also somebody who sent me some information about the Student Prime that's free, and you get a free subscription for 30 days, which covers almost our entire class. So please take a look at this. Try and figure this out today or tomorrow if you can. Lots of benefits to finding me on these. Obviously, it makes it way easier for all the content that I post. You can join me live and do the extra credits with these, or if you're watching it later as a recording, if you're subscribed on Twitch, you can still get those points. So definitely take a look at this page, see if you can figure it out if you can. And ideally, please don't pay for it. There's a couple of ways around it. There's some other stuff here about technology if you need help, and Canvas, how to find your grades, some college service information, and then we jump right into the content. Okay, so make sure you look through all of that, kind of explore it and click through all of that on your own. Let's take a look at the mandatory orientation lecture, and then we'll go over to the ebook and look at the quiz and all of that. But any questions so far? Excuse me, I'm fighting the end of like a sinus infection here, so forgive me. But any questions about anything at the moment? If you think of anything, obviously put it in the chat and I would be happy to answer. Is there anything we have to turn in on Canvas for quizzes and tests? For example, is there anything we need to turn in? No. So the quiz that's due tonight is on the ebook site. One little pet peeve of mine, and I have no control over this, is the things on the ebook site don't come into Canvas automatically. So even if you took the quiz on there, you won't see it in the Canvas gradebook yet. But once the deadline passes, what I do is I go in there and I grade it and bring your score over. So for today, by tonight, right, that quiz is just due on the ebook site, and then you'll get started on all these other things which are here on Canvas. Right? We'll talk about that when we get there. I'll get to the exams in a little bit. They're mainly multiple choice, but I'll talk about that a little bit as well. I'm glad you asked. If I don't answer it, ask me again, right? So the mandatory orientation lecture, make sure you look at that and the syllabus before you take the quiz. Let's look at the lecture together, and it's just kind of highlighting everything from the syllabus along with a few other things. So a little overview here, and you'll see that this is the format that I follow with all of my lectures that are on here. They have these 5 tabs up at the top. You'll also see that you can listen to this if you would rather listen to me read it to you rather than read it yourself. That's an option with every lecture. So you'll want to read or listen to all these pages, read through the syllabus, complete that mandatory orientation quiz, which I'll show you in a bit. Find me on YouTube and Twitch, and I gave you instructions on how to do that and how to subscribe. The next page is a little bit about how the course is organized. So basically every week what you'll be doing is you'll be reading 4 chapters in the required Psyched book. And it's a lot. This class moves really quickly because it's a quick summer class. So you'll be reading the book. You'll be reading my lectures and watching the lecture videos that go with them. There'll be weekly discussions that you'll do, 2 discussions each week. And then in addition to that, you'll do 4 online exams, so 1 each week, a couple of self-assessments, that self-care and mindfulness assignment, and the closing assignment, kind of like we just talked about on the syllabus. And you'll see that everything is organized under its weekly folder. So everything you need to do for week number 1 is under week number 1, for example, or 2 or 3, and so on. Page 3 is a little bit about me. I thought you might like a little bit about the person teaching the class. So if you want to know a little bit more about me, where I went to school, my favorite football player, and favorite hobby of escape rooms, and how many cats I have, and all that kind of fun stuff, I shared all of that with you here. And since I am teaching this class at home, I will probably have moments where my cats come close. If they do, I will grab them and bring them in. There's a little bit about the computer and internet kind of stuff. If you're struggling with internet settings or something isn't working, you could try looking at some of these things. And then the last page is help, right? So if you're struggling with Canvas, there's a phone number. If you're struggling with ordering your textbooks, right, here's the email and phone number that I showed you earlier. You can always email me if you're struggling, right? If you have a question, feel free to reach out to me. I'm here. I check my email all the time. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But remember, here's some resources. There's also those frequently asked questions that people have asked me over time that I put together. So once you have purchased your book, you've read through that, you've read through the syllabus and all of that, you can go take the quiz. And so let's go look at the Psyched page, right? This is what the main textbook looks like. So it's called Psyched, and then it goes with my channel, Psyched with Setmire, and even having the same kind of background here for continuity. But what you'll notice on here, there's a little welcome video in the middle, and then up in the top right, you have chapters, resources, the exams, and a temporary gradebook. So basically all of the chapters that you're reading are on this site. All of the exams you're taking are on this site. So this is your main textbook, and the reason that you need your own copy of it is because it is linked to your specific gradebook. So for example, when I say read chapter 1, this is where you would find it. Up at the top, you'll click on chapters, and then that's going to bring up a list of all of the chapters in the class. So like for example, chapter 1. Right, if you click on that, you can see the outline, you know, kind of what to expect, the outcomes, the summary, and then the chapter, right? And you'll see all the key terms are in bold. There's lots of little like boxes and in pop culture and little things like that. And again, I did write all of this, so hopefully it feels very approachable. There's links to a video for each one, like a video that's connected to this, and then something like with application. So this is where you're going to be reading all of your chapters. Make sure you do that for each one. You're also going to be taking your quizzes and exams on here. So if you click on exams up at the top, this is where you'll take that mandatory orientation quiz. And hopefully most of you have already taken it because, again, it is due by tonight at 11:59 p.m. But with each quiz that you take, you'll have some instructions, and then you can begin by clicking here. And so for this one's really short, 15 minutes, it's only 10 questions. It's based on the syllabus and the mandatory orientation quiz. So it should be stuff that's really common sense about how the class is set up, about myself, about Canvas, and all that kind of stuff. If we don't have access to the quiz today, what do you recommend? I bought the bundle a few days ago, but only have access to the self-care book. So if you bought the bundle a few days ago, both should come instantly, right? So obviously send them an email, or you might have to call them first thing in the morning. Check your spam folder. Check that your email that you put in was correct. You know, make sure you check all of those boxes. And then worst case, if you still don't have access, when you get a warning email from me tomorrow, make sure you respond and let me know your situation and that you're still wanting to stay in the class. You know, I imagine there might be a couple of you who like ran into that problem, but make sure you double check everything as well, because hopefully it really should be there. It comes pretty quickly. But if it's not, make sure you respond when I send out that email. Okay. So when you're ready, you'll click begin your attempt, and it's going to bring up the quiz. And this is the actual quiz, right? You'll notice there are 10 questions. You'll notice there's a little clock right here. Make sure that you're really mindful of the time. When your time runs out, it will stop you. So you can skip through. Let's say you don't know the answer to number 1. You could skip to number 2, and it turns like a gray color. So for example, which of the following is not true about your instructor? I most definitely do not hate football. And then you'll hit save answer. Make sure you save your answer for every single one. It'll turn like an orange color. There are 2 required books for this class, right? And then you'll say, that's true, and save your answer, right? And so you'll do that, make sure every single one of them is like an orange color and is all highlighted and done. And when you're set, you'll hit I am finished, submit for a grade, and it will give you a score right away. Right, so you'll instantly know how you did. I got a shameful 2 out of 10, but I only attempted 2, so that's good. 2 out of 2, right? But please remember that this score does not come over to the Canvas site automatically. Once the deadline is passed, I will bring everything over. But if you want to see what your grade is temporarily, you can always click on the little grade book up in the corner, and it will show you your score until I bring it over to Canvas. So this is where you'll take the mandatory orientation quiz. We'll come back here later. This is also where you'll take all of your exams in a very similar format. With all of the exams and quizzes, you only get 1 attempt. So make sure that you're really ready and organized and ready to go before you begin. But that's where you can find that mandatory orientation quiz. There's some other resources up here at the top, like flashcards and a couple of review things if you want. The biggest thing on this page is the chapters, so the actual textbook, and the exams. So again, make sure that you have access to this. It's definitely something that you're going to be using for the exams, the reading, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so when you click on mandatory orientation quiz on Canvas, it's going to remind you that, hey, the quiz is on the ebook site, and I have a link to it here, also a link to purchase the book, in case you hadn't done that yet. Okay. Any other questions about the ebook or anything for now? No, so it won't be there tomorrow. So it will close tonight. So when I send you, probably what I'll do tomorrow is I'll grade all of the scores and I will bring them over to Canvas and then send an email to anyone who didn't do it. So just make sure you respond to that and reach out to the ebook company tomorrow to see if you can figure out what happened, okay? And if that applies to any of you as well, remember that phone number is on the last page of that mandatory orientation lecture. So give them a call tomorrow morning and see if you can figure out what happened. Hopefully it's an easy fix and you can get all registered, and then once you have that, I can help you out with that. Okay. So once you've done the quiz and the lecture, there's a little introductions discussion that's due by this Sunday night, and then we start week number 1. And again, you'll notice that every week has a very similar format. So you have 4 chapters, 2 discussions, an exam, and then there's the extra credit for these sessions along with like a checklist and the recording of these sessions. And it'll follow that pretty similar format every week. So with each chapter, you're going to want to do 3 things. You're reading the chapter in the ebook on the Psyched page, you're reading through my lecture, and you're watching my lecture video. Those 3 things together should really help you to understand the materials. And you'll notice if you click on chapter 1, The lectures follow that same 5-tab format as you'll see with the mandatory orientation quiz. You can listen to it. Page 1's always objectives and summary. Page 2 is always beyond the book. If I give you a video, watch it, right? If I give you a link, click on it. So all these little videos are going to help you with understanding the materials. They're fair game on the exams. In pop culture will be shows and things in the media that connect to what we're talking about. As a side note, if you ever have a really good example, please feel free to email it to me. I would love that. Key terms and review will be all the terms you need to know for the exam from that chapter. And then the last page will always be application. Now that I've read it, how could I apply this to my life? So again, if I give you a video, make sure you watch it, click on everything, explore. All of it is really meant to help you understand. There's also a lecture video that you have. So that's that third component. This is me lecturing to some PowerPoint slides, just like I would do if you took this with me in person. They're typically like in the 15 to 25 minute range, depending on the topic, and you might consider taking notes or just paying attention. Almost all of them are on YouTube. Actually, I believe all of them are now on YouTube. I remade a few of them to make sure they were. That way you can watch them from anywhere if you don't want to have to be like glued to your computer. You can watch it on your phone. But those videos are going to be really, really helpful as well. So again, for each chapter, 3 things: read the chapter in the ebook, read through the lecture, and watch the lecture video. So you'll do that for chapters 1 through 4 this week. And then when you're ready, you have 2 discussions that are based on all of that reading. So let's take a look at the discussions together, and then we'll take a look at the exam, just kind of going through each component to make sure that you feel good about them. And again, if at any point you have questions, please feel free to ask. So discussion number 1. And traditionally, if you were taking this with me in a longer format, you would have 1 discussion for each chapter, so a little bit less because it is a fast summer class. But you'll notice every single time there'll be instructions, followed by a video, followed by my prompt. Some of the videos are old. You can see my hair is short and I'm younger. Some of them are newer. They're kind of all over the place. But the instructions will always be the same. So for each one, you'll want to watch the video. I give you some tips and suggestions. They're like a minute, 2 minutes max. You're going to answer all of the questions that I have down here below. Think about them like little mini papers or essays. Really elaborate, show off your knowledge and understanding of the materials. Give me like a paragraph or so for each one. If you want to see a sample, you can click right here to get a sample of what I'm looking for. Your responses to my questions are worth 13 points. And then you need to respond to 1 classmate to get those 2 points. So altogether, 15 points per discussion. These make up a really big part of your grade. So definitely spend some time on them. Make sure you elaborate and show off that knowledge and understanding. Watch the video for suggestions. And so for example, here is prompt number 1 right underneath. Right? And so with this one, you have 3 questions to answer. And you can see some of you have already done this, which is fantastic. So you'll answer these 3 questions. Again, elaborate, show off that you understand everything that you've done your reading and all that kind of stuff. And then you're also going to reply to a classmate. So let's say I love what Noah had to say. I could hit reply. Or Nancy, I could hit reply. But again, I would really recommend better to give me more than not enough, especially as we're kind of starting out and you maybe don't know what to expect. And as I mentioned, here's a rubric right here, and it'll show you kind of roughly what I'm looking for a sample. Same idea with discussion number 2, right? If you click on discussion 2, this one is your second one for the week, and it is related to chapter 3. So again, you have my instructions, followed by my video, and then followed by the prompt. And some of them will have an article like you need to read. This one has an article about the 10% myth of the brain. Some of them will have little activities you need to do. And then you'll hit reply to answer like some of you have already done. And then don't forget to also reply to a classmate. So those discussions will follow that same format every time. But again, I would err on the side of giving me too much rather than not enough, especially as we're in that first week and you maybe don't know what I'm looking for quite yet. And remember that rubric and sample are right here if you need it. Okay, so that's the first part. You read the 4 chapters, do the 2 discussions, and then the other thing that you have each week is an exam. So let's spend some time talking about exam number 1. I know exams make people super anxious, but I've given you a study guide for every single test. And the study guide is basically the test without the questions. So let's look at that first. If you click on study guide number 1, it's going to give you every single term or concept that you need to know for the test. So if you know everything on here, you'll be in wonderful shape. Now the tests are open note, open book. So if you write all these things out and have it in front of you and you've studied and prepared, there's really no reason that you shouldn't do well. I will never trick you on an exam. I want you all to do really well, but you do need to study and prepare kind of like you would for a normal in-person test. So chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4 are on exam 1, everything for week 1. There's also 2 diagrams that I've given you, and I give you the exact diagrams from the test. So here's the study guide. Make sure you review or type these out. Now, if it were me, and I am one of those like meticulous, like I want 100% on everything kind of students, just to throw that out there, I would write or type all of these out and I would have it in front of me during the test. That way, let's say I get to phrenology and I don't remember where that was. I'm not using a valuable test time looking through the chapter, looking through the lecture, looking through my notes. I have it right here in front of me on my study guide. Someone said you have to hop off. No worries, it's recorded, so it'll be posted either later tonight or tomorrow, so you'll be able to watch the rest. Okay. So again, make sure you prepare with this. I think it's better to over prepare, especially for the first exam. And then you can always dial it back if you find that you did too much. Now the exams, again, are on the ebook site. So if you click on exam number 1, it's going to remind you like, hey, the exam's on the ebook site. Make sure you go there. So let's go over to the ebook site. And if you scroll down, you'll find the instructions for the exams. And so obviously these are longer and they're worth more points, so you have a little more time. You have 75 minutes for each exam. You only get 1 attempt, so be ready and organized before you begin. Now, what I mean by ready and organized, first, make sure you have 75 minutes. Make sure you have a quiet place to take the exam, that you have good internet, that you've studied, you've done your study guide. Ideally, that study guide is going to be like gold for you. It's going to help you so much. Make sure that you have your notes and book and whatever you have want to use on the exam in front of you. You're going to save all your answers. You're going to watch the clock, right? So all the same things as the mandatory orientation quiz, just a little bit longer. And again, I would really stress it's always better to over prepare for exam number 1, and then you can dial it back. But you don't want to have that moment halfway through the test where you wish you had prepared a little bit more. Okay, and again, as soon as you're done with that 75-minute test, you will get a score right away. Just remember that it doesn't come over to Canvas automatically. Okay, so that's kind of your general format that you'll follow. We do have a couple of other little things during the class, but we'll talk about them when they come up. For now, the biggest thing is to get your copy of the book and get it registered. Complete that mandatory orientation lecture and quiz by tonight at 11:59 p.m. and then get going on week number 1. Week number 1 is everything from this week is due by Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. and then it will disappear. Okay, so if you log in like Monday morning next week, you can't access week number 1. All those materials will close. So really important to turn in your discussions and your exam and all that kind of stuff before the deadline. Now I want you to notice I will post the recording of this. It takes me a little bit to download it and then upload it to YouTube and then here. So forgive me if it's not done right away, but by tomorrow you'll find the recording of this on here. I'll always end with an extra credit question, and I'll show you how to do that tonight since it'll be our first one. Yeah, I'm going to give that to you right now. So I'm going to give that to you in just a moment, and I'll show you where to answer it and how to get those points. And then I'll end also with a couple of reminders. So I typed this one out earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and post it. Please make sure you take a moment to try and find me on YouTube and Twitch. If you haven't subscribed on Twitch, please try and figure it out. Selfishly, it helps me a ton because I don't have to go through and put your name together with your Twitch name. I can just download a list of people who join me. It also means that if you can't watch these live, if you're watching this as a recording, you can still get the extra credit points by answering the question if you are subscribed. So please try and figure that out if you can. You also get a little football cake next to your name, which I think is kind of fun because I love cake and I love football, and that's 2 of them together. The other reminder that I have for you, let me put this in the chat as well. Our next Twitch live stream will be on Wednesday, June 4th at 8 o'clock p.m. Okay, so that's one more reminder for you. We'll do this again next Wednesday. I'll try and do this as many times as I can, consistently Wednesday at 8. I am going on a cruise in 2 weeks, and so I might have to do either a recording or a different day. But for the most part, I'm going to try and do Wednesdays at 8 so you can count on it. And again, if you can't join, it's totally fine. They're extra credit, and they will always be recorded. Now, the last piece, if there aren't any questions, let me give you the extra credit question and show you how to answer it. I did write it up for myself earlier, so I didn't have to type it. So I'm going to put this in the chat. This is the week number 1 Twitch extra credit question. And again, there'll be one each week. These are worth a couple of points, and those points will add up, right? So if you're doing these each week, that will just go right on top of your score. It might make up for a couple of questions you miss on an exam or a few points on a discussion. That way, it gives you an opportunity to kind of recover a little bit. So even if you can't join me live, you can still get these points by answering it later if you're subscribed. Okay, so the question for this week, I just put it in the chat right here, is what is meant by the phrase correlation does not equal causation? Explain and give me an example. So what is meant by the phrase correlation does not equal causation? Explain and give me an example. Now let me show you where to answer that. Not here, not on Twitch. What you'll do is you'll go back to Canvas and you'll click on optional Twitch extra credit number 1. Okay, since we're in week number 1, you're going to click on extra credit 1, and here's where the recording will be posted later. But click on optional Twitch extra credit number 1 right here. And then up at the top, and here's the instructions in case you forget, you'll click on start assignment. Okay, and that's going to bring up this box where you can type your response right to my question, right to that question I just gave you. When you're done, you'll hit submit. And it'll give you a little confetti burst and pandas today. It's always something random in the confetti, which is something fun to look forward to. But again, these are worth a couple of points, 5 points of extra credit. Okay, so if you did all of these, that's 25 points of extra credit. That would make up for a lot of missed points. So I really hope a lot of you take advantage of this. So all you need to do to get these points is you either join me live and you put your name in the chat, and then you'll come on here and answer the question correctly. Or if you're watching this later as a recording and you're subscribed on Twitch, you can still answer the question on here for extra credit. Okay, and I'll grade everything traditionally once the week ends. So Monday night or Monday of next week, I'll be grading everything from week number 1. You'll see all your scores. I'll send out an email with some general comments and feedback. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to go over with you. We looked at the syllabus, we looked at all the materials, we talked about everything for week number 1. Biggest thing, if you haven't already, make sure you go get your book, explore all the links on here, watch the videos if you're still confused. On Canvas, you can also go on the ebook site and explore. I have a video on the homepage if you want to know where everything is on here. That's also where that mandatory orientation quiz is. You don't need the self-care book for a couple of weeks. So just make sure you have it, make sure you keep that email, but you won't need it until that final week, week number 5, which isn't for a few weeks at this point. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll end our time today by hanging out for a few minutes. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. I'd be happy. Past student here. Aw, nice to have you back. I'm glad you love the class. Thank you for joining us for a minute. If you do have any questions, this is a wonderful time. You can put it in the chat. I'd be happy to show you something again or talk about something again if you're confused. Really great opportunity every week to check in with me live and ask questions if you do have them. If you don't have them and you're feeling good, please feel free to go ahead and take off at this point. Remember to do everything for the week, and there's always going to be a little checklist if you want to make sure. And I will post the recording of this either tonight or tomorrow, depending on how long it takes to upload and download and all that fun stuff. Okay, so I'll hang out for a little bit, but thank you so much for all of you who joined me. I really appreciate you joining me live. I'm happy to do this as long as it's helpful. What I'm going to do, I'm going to minimize my video just so I'm not staring at myself, but I will hang out for a little while if you do have any questions. And if a cat comes near me, I'll bring it back on to show you. But nobody today, they've caught on, they know better. Thank you as well. Thank you all. I'm going to put thank you in the chat. And again, if you're feeling good, you're welcome to go. Make sure you get going on week number 1. If you ever need anything, please just go ahead and email me. I check my email all the time and I will get back to you as soon as I can. All right. Thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will hope to see you all next week for week number 2. And if you run into any issues, just send me an email. And stay cool. It's supposed to be really, really hot on Friday, right? So enjoy like one more day of decent weather before it gets super hot. And I will hang out for a few more minutes, like I said, if you do have any questions. Otherwise, you can always email me if you think of something later. Send me an email with the problem having with your bundle. Will anyone having problems be able to take the quiz tomorrow? Okay, so if you aren't able to get access to the book, I'm not going to drop you if you would like to stay in the class. So what'll happen, like I said earlier, is I'll send out an email after I grade all of the quizzes to anyone who didn't complete it. So just make sure that you do respond to that email saying you'd like to stay in the class and we'll get it figured out. I'm not going to drop you if you would like to stay. Just try and give them a call tomorrow morning so that you can see if you can get access. Is the information in the lecture for each chapter, not the lecture video, different from the textbook? So they all kind of complement and build on each other, and there's definitely a little bit of overlap. But what you should see is that the lecture is kind of highlighting some key things from the chapter, and then the lecture video is me just kind of describing it differently. Oh, they were closed today? That's odd. Hopefully they'll be open for you tomorrow. Just keep giving them a try and we'll figure it out. Just make sure you're communicating with me, especially when I send that drop warning email. You'll also find with the lectures, back to your Galaxy, back to your question, that they have office hours too, huh? So yeah, what you'll see is everything kind of overlaps with each other, and so between the 3 of them, you'll be able to get a really good understanding. And just use that study guide to guide you. So anything on the study guide, make sure you know it for the exam. Yeah, you're welcome. Have a good night. All right, I'm going to hang out for just another minute or two and then I'll log off so I can start that upload and download process. But if you think of anything else, of course, feel free to email me. It looks like most of you have kind of logged off at this point. Again, normally this will only be about like 30 minutes. This one was just a little longer since we were going over the format of the class.